let's be real. There's a huge pressure on Black journalists that our white colleagues don't have to face. There's definitely a smaller margin for error for us. Lydia, as an industry vet and, as a newsroom exec, I'm wondering how you've seen expectations placed on Black journalists change as the industry shifts.
Yeah, it's been really interesting because when I started my career, and I think I'm a lot older than everybody else on this stage. When I started my career, it was essentially assumed that if you were a Black journalist, you didn't want to be pigeonholed as like covering Black things. That was like, oh no, 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 no. You want to make sure that you're doing what are quote unquote mainstream beats, right? So if you were on the quote race beat, somehow you were limiting your career options. When I first started in journalism, people were like, oh no, no, you don't want to be typecast as a journalist who only covers Black things. Make sure that you cover, business or, if you're going to become a foreign correspondent, which was what I did for much of my career when I was at the New York Times, my last job, they were like, well, don't go to Africa because it's, that's a job for Black people. You should go to Asia, or you should go to the Middle East. I think the positive thing is I think there's been a real step change in that. And I think that through the extraordinary work of journalists, some of whom are on the stage with me right now, but also, former colleagues of mine like Nicole Hannah-Jones, Ta-Nehisi Coates, and others who've really shown that writing about race is really about writing the story of America. And that it's actually... There's nothing marginal about the stories of people of color in this country. They are the history of America, and so I think on the positive side, that's been a great thing to see happen. I think something that's a little bit more challenging is that you are seeing, as those stories are valued, you're seeing some tokenism. People bring in people of color into their newsroom and then don't empower them, don't give them the training and support that they need to grow and to become the great contributors that they could be. They're not getting the kind of training or opportunities. People get pigeonholed as just writing takes, for example, as opposed to being given opportunities to go out and do investigative reporting or cultural reporting or whatever it is. And then finally, I think there's a double standard around particularly how journalists comport themselves and express their opinions on social media. And I think this has been a real hot button topic lately, where there's been a lot of focus on journalists of color who express what are seen as opinions about issues that touch on race. But really, I think we've come to see that those aren't opinions, that's knowledge. And when you hire journalists of color, you're hiring them in part because they're bringing knowledge that you don't have. And you can't then turn around and say, oh, no, that's opinion. You can't make a claim about, for example, the role of race and the inspiration of the Tea Party movement, for example, that's expressing an opinion, and we don't do that. It's not an opinion. It's part of your expertise, and so I think it's a complex picture. I think there are lots of great opportunities, and I think that the stories that we tell have been elevated in really important ways. But I think there's still a long way to go.